How's it going, everybody? 2-liter bottle of Iron Brew here, and today we have some Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green prototype assets to check out. This is thanks to Helix Chamber, and I'm going to go ahead and leave their Twitter, their website, their article about this in the description. I encourage you to please check it out before or after this video, whenever you want. Check it out, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have this. And they do stuff like this all the time, where they, you know, try to dig up old Pokemon information and stuff like that. So maybe give them a follow. I definitely think it's worth it. So I don't exactly know 100% about what's going on here, but I'm going to do my best to explain sort of what I've gathered and share it with you, I guess. So some of you may remember the 1997 Pokemon Gold Space World leak, where back in May of last year, wow, it's been that long, we had a leak of all these Pokemon Gold and Silver designs that didn't quite make it, and then, you know, people were drawing fan art. It was amazing, just seeing all these old potential Pokemon designs, you know, just seeing what we have now versus then. It was great, and this is essentially similar to that, but it's on a much less grand scale, because most of the sprites that we got are back sprites, and I don't think there's just not as much data, and there's not as much Pokemon. But the thing that interests me the most is that we actually have a back sprite of Gorochu, and we have a back sprite of a third Marowak evolution that looks exactly like Kangashkhan. Basically, it confirms once again that Cubone was meant to be related to Kangashkhan. So before I get into sharing all this, I do want to put a disclaimer out there. While these guys truly believe that this is real, and I also believe it's real, take it lightly. Don't, you know, start giving this out as fact. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's most likely real, but then someone could have easily faked it. So from their tweets, essentially what's happened is they did a live stream showing off a bunch of these new Pokemon, but the game they were playing to show off these Pokemon or whatever was a ROM hack that they compiled. And that's because around the middle of last summer, we were approached by someone who claimed to have Gen 1 prototypes and wanted to remain anonymous. We communicated via private IRC channel of their making, and they provided us with some answers. At first we were skeptical, as you would be when someone claims this. However, at the time we were working on Kajin Zukin enhancements. We were the only ones who'd seen Kotoran, I'm assuming that's a Pokemon. And then when we asked to see 159, there it was in full detail. So essentially, I think what's happened is they had information that nobody else in the world should know, but then so did this person. So they were like, okay, maybe what this guy's saying to us is feasible. You know, maybe he does have Gen 1 prototypes. So they pushed to get dumps of the prototypes, but he wouldn't budge on that. We assumed they were a collector and they wanted to keep the value of what they had. But apparently recent events inspired them to at least give up some detail of what was within the games. They were sent a zip of ripped ROM assets. All but 7 back sprites of unused Pokemon were there. We're unsure why the front sprites weren't there. The donor wouldn't answer that question. After a few more questions and answers were exchanged about the material, the donor then disappeared. So we had to make a choice. How do you reveal something like this? Posting it without understanding the material ourselves would be a result in a lot of misinformation being spread around, so we made a decision. So in a nutshell, a man came forward after the Space World demo leak last year saying, hey, I've got this Gen 1 prototype game that has all this stuff on it. But obviously, because it's so rare, I guess he just didn't want to give it up so they could get all the information off it. So I guess he must have ripped a lot of the sprites or whatever from the game himself and just sent it to them. I don't know if there was front sprites. Like, there's still so many questions out there. But I don't really want to give it misinformation. So once again, you know, shout out to Helix Chamber for this. You know, like they said, there's still a lot of stuff unanswered. You know, it's just, they believe it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and say that this stuff is real too. But they did take liberties of their own. They did actually make up a few names just to make it easier to understand. They wrote a whole article. I'm gonna go ahead and link the article in the description, like I said, so you guys can check this out yourself. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up Photoshop here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and resize this up to make it a bit easier I guess, to see, you know, make it a little bit less blurry. So I think for the most part, this is what we're dealing with. This is the missing number summary. This isn't talking about missing no from red, blue, and green or whatever. This is more just, these are Pokemon, I guess, that were gonna originally be in the games, but then, you know, ultimately weren't. Being honest with you guys, I just really wish that Pokemon themselves would come out and share this stuff, because it's really interesting, and I think a lot of people would be interested. And I guess the backlash of it would be like, why didn't you keep this design? I really like this design, you know. It's tricky. But yeah, from reading their article slightly, this guy here, Gaianon, or whatever. Like I said, I think the front sprites are their own interpretations of what the front sprite would look like. I don't think that's official. I don't exactly 100% know, because I think there was a time where there was like images put out of beta Pokemon designs from like a book. So like I don't know if this was one of the guys included. But anyways, Gaiaon, whatever his name's pronounced, number 31 here. Basically, people are speculating this is what inspired Tyranitar. He originally was one of the first capsule monsters. I think they've decided to call him Roardon. So yeah, from what we can gather, this guy was early Tyranitar. There's this Nidorino-esque sprite. They're speculating that this was just an early spot for Nidorino. Either that or Nidorino and Nidorina used to be one Pokemon, but then they got separated into two separate evolution lines. They don't actually know, but it's not quite Nidorino's back sprite, but it's very similar. So one of the designs that interests me quite a bit is Balloonda here. I think basically in their article they say that Jigglypuff was probably the other potential design for Balloonda, as there were A and B designs at the time of the manga poll, and it survived to tell the tale. So I'm pretty sure it was, from what I'm gathering, Jigglypuff and Balloonda were put on a poll together for which design people preferred, and obviously Jigglypuff won, I think. I mean, Balloonda is literally a circle and a string. I think earlier I briefly mentioned that a bunch of the designs were actually revealed through like through the Tajiri manga, and this is what I was talking about. You know, there was some old Pokemon designs shared, so obviously you know, that's where they got some of the, I guess, the front sprites from. We have this Ice Yokai guy here. Helix Chamber are thinking that Ice Yokai could potentially be a male counterpart to Jinx. He's not a design that I particularly would have missed much, but it's still cool, I guess. So like I mentioned, from that Tajiri manga, there's this little deer guy here, and here he is. His name is just Deer. There's actually a back sprite for him. Obviously this isn't what the front sprite would look like. Probably a bit more compressed, a bit, you know, thicker lines. But yeah, it's still pretty cool that we get to see the back sprite for him. You know, he obviously was in the game at one point. We've got Elephant, which is literally an elephant Pokemon, like a proper elephant Pokemon, which to be honest, I think we still need. I don't think Musharna, is Musharna an elephant? Drowsy, he's a tapir. Donphan, like we need a big elephant Pokemon, and I'm kind of sad that this guy's not here anymore. Crocky, that was another one of those Pokemon that was in the Tajiri manga. I think somewhere at some point he was definitely there. And yeah, there's a back sprite for Crocky. So this next one, it reminds me of Omanite and Omastar. You know, like the, you know, like fossil with like tentacles, but apparently it was like meant to be like its own, like I don't know if it was like beta versions of them, but it's like its own like sort of squid evolution. The guys over at Helix Chamber decided to call them Blottle and Pendraken. Honestly, I really wish we could see the front sprite for these guys, because I think they would have been really cool. I really want a proper squid Pokemon. I mean, people like squids, you know, Splatoon's big. So then another design we have here is Cactus. I think I remember when the Tajiri manga first came out, people thought that the cactus was like Dodrio, but from the back sprite, it just genuinely looks like a cactus Pokemon. Obviously now we have Cacnea and Maractus, so I'm not really sure if this was an inspiration, but hey ho. We have Jag, another Pokemon seen in the Tajiri manga. His back sprite, obviously the back sprites are limited on, like, you know, what they can do, but I think he would have been like one of my favorite Pokemon if he were, you know, as a kid at least. I would have loved him. He's a cool shark. We don't have a Coal Shark Pokemon yet. Sharpedo is really underwhelming. There's a pre-Zubat sprite here, which is literally a dot with wings. We've got this 2-stage like chicken sort of line thing going on. So the guys over at Helix Chamber thinks that these guys here were based off of Cheep Cheeps from Mario, and that they are water fighting type just because of their movesets implied that they have feet as well. So I don't know, they look like birds to me, but I guess they're fish bird. I don't know, man. We've got another pre-Vulpix. I'm pretty sure we saw something similar, if not the exact same thing, in the Space World demo. So they think that these guys are sumo frogs. The back sprite is literally just like a head. I thought it was Magnemite at first. I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah. I really don't know what to say about these guys. This is another 2-stage line. Man, these guys are cute. They kind of remind me of these guys, the Bubble Bobble, and even in their article themselves, they said it looks like it would belong to that. Apparently, it ended up being based on Chinese water dragons, which are lizards common to China that spend time in water areas. We've got possibly Farfetch'd, Crocky, or Cactus's second stages here. I guess they just didn't get those back sprites because there was some missing. We've got that Squid evolution. We've got a Psyduck 2. I think maybe it's just beta Psyduck, I guess. Pre-evolution of Meowth. I think the Space World also had that. This one is just a blur. I think that's literally what they were sent. So maybe the person that sent them it didn't want them to know what it was. We've got a pre-evolution of that Tyranitar thing. That's their guess. We've got Magnemite 2. It's similar to the Nidorino backsprite that I showed you guys earlier. The same as Magneton with some differences, like missing magnets on its other orbs. And it doesn't seem to make sense as a standalone Pokemon. Index-wise, Magneton was very early. This guy was somewhere in the middle, and Magnemite was fairly late. They seem to be trying out something here, and it was probably cut due to redundancy or maybe balance reasons. And now this is the moment you guys have been waiting for. I guess I'm probably going to title the video something like this. This is Cubone 3. This is one where we were all very shocked. The common fan theory that Cubone is a baby Kangaskhan came true in a twisted sort of way. Now it seems like they were always meant to be linked together. In the end, Guardia would have become the loving parent to its baby Cubone. Maybe even having adopted it. After all, it still has a skull on its head. We made 2 interpretations of the back sprite. One was it withholding the baby. The other was it having it in the pouch like Kangaskhan. We can't tell for sure what's going on with those pixels. It's really cool that it's named after Marowak's really cool old localized name. So for those that didn't know, Marowak's old localized name was Guardia, which is based off of Guardian. And apparently this is, I guess this is what the 3rd evolution of Marowak is meant to look like. And it looks very similar to Kangaskhan. So if Sun and Moon with Horde battles having Cubone calling on Kangaskhan wasn't enough proof, here you go. Cubone was meant to be the baby of Kangaskhan. So we've got this pre-Goldeen picture here. I don't really know what a pre-evolution of Goldeen would be. The 3 stages of the Kotora line, which is these this cute little cat thing. I think that was also in the Space World demo. Pre-evolution of Ponyta. Man, they added pre-evolutions to so many random Pokemon. Pre-evolution of Blastoise, so I guess that would be like Wartortle. I don't know. They called it Blastike. It was a real toughie to figure out. We thought it was some sort of cow or pig initially, as the circle on its nose resembled a nose ring. This led us to thinking it was a pre-evolution of Tauros. Then we realized that the nose ring was actually a bubble, and the things on its back were bubble cannons. Blastoise had been given a pre-evolution when Totterle was still the final evolution of Wartortle. There's just too many turtles. Okay, so Wartortle wasn't even meant to originally be linked to Blastoise. That's actually kind of wild. And another one you guys have been waiting for, Gorochu. So Gorochu actually has a back sprite apparently. He was, you know, they revealed sometime last year there was going to be an evolution of Raichu, but they didn't, you know, want to do. I guess they didn't want to go too far with it. And yeah, Gorochu is here. Doesn't quite look like Pikachu at all. Even these guys said. We thought we saw a walrus with icy hide and horns. We looked again at the prototype evolution table and we found out it was Gorochu. Oh, for the love of joy, we have Gorochu, and it only has 1 horn, not 2. We also don't know what the spikes on its back are. They don't know exactly what the spikes on its back are. It could be a tail, it could be a cloud. But they've got Gorochu, and I'm interested to see what all the artists, you know, I guess, interpret this as. We have the original Comex, which is, you know, that's War Turtle. That was when War Turtle evolved into something other than Blastoise, which is kind of crazy. I'm not sure why these guys were added here. I guess it's just because they might have been Pokemon at one point. Maybe they were a boss you fought. I don't know. Looking at their article and also the download that they gave out, their the original trainer design was actually they were called dealers instead of trainers. They used to be called dealers. The original intro animation, when you shrink down, has you. This is you. This is the guy you play as. He's holding a whip. Kind of wild, actually. The back sprite looked a lot different. You know, it looks a lot more cartoony. I've actually got this this file here that shares I guess the original. The top is the original, the second is the replacement, and the third is final. So for the most part, they are the same. But this trainer here was cut for some reason. I don't really. He kind of looks like a Dragon Ball Z character. This trainer here was changed completely. Brock changed completely, and so did Bruno. Bruno used to be like this little kid, and I guess Brock looked a lot. Yeah, that's weird. For some reason, Lorelei used to be a guy. And yeah, the trainer, I guess, Red, as we know it, he's changed as well. So looking back at all this, it is incredibly interesting, and I'm sorry if I rambled a bit too much. I'm gonna go ahead and try and cut this video down as much as I can, make it a bit more understandable. But hopefully you enjoyed this look at the past. If you want to check out everything I spoke about, a link is in the description. Please, I do encourage you to give it a look for yourself. Go ahead and read their whole article if you're interested in this kind of stuff. It's really cool to look back on, I must say. Part of me wishes that these Pokemon still existed today, but again, I guess they were cut for a reason. You know, they I guess they just weren't Pokemon-y enough. But yeah, I've been recording for 40 minutes now, so I'm going to try and cut this video down to at least half of that time. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.